Hello, my quilting friends. My name is Leah Day, and welcome to episode 113 of the podcast. And today I am celebrating many things. Today is the 10th anniversary of the Free Motion Quilting Project, and that is basically 10 years in business. So that is super exciting. And I just want to talk today about milestones, about deciding on projects moving forward and really kind of putting more thought and planning into this. And I have so many different things in progress. Of course, I want to share about that too. So this is going to be a milestone episode all about turning 10 and all that's coming along with that. So as you can see behind me, if you are watching the video, and if you are not watching the video, this is a visual you really need. So make sure to come and check out the show notes for the podcast at freemotionproject.com. Basically, I have been hard at work on my latest version of Express Your Love. So this version started in 2013. I pieced the background, I pieced the goddess's hair, which is super scrappy style, and then it took me 6 years to piece all of the little hexagons that form her face and her arm and her body. And is it really worth it? You can't really tell. You know, it's kind of like I did all that work and not much benefit, but you know, I'm very happy that I did it. I set out to do it, you know, a challenging thing with this one, and I did that. And then as far as what's recent, finishing up the hexes through her arm and a body, and then I added the breath, which is green, kind of teal colors, through the sky section. And then just this weekend, I have pieced these borders. So they are landscape borders on both sides with a beautiful Dresden plate for the sun, and then appliqued together this sky section. So it's basically another landscape, just different perspective. And had tons of fun. Dad did all of the scrappy piecing for my strips, and then I just took those and randomly cut them up. I made some of these just totally random scrappy pieces, and then just cut out some I had to do with just plain fabric because I just ran out of scrappy stuff. But I had so much fun doing this, guys. I mean, it was a lot of effort. I was on my feet pretty much all day Saturday. I was in here muscling through this quilt, and I'm still not completely done with it. I need to get 2 more center suns done for my Dresden plates. And this Dresden plate, it's a 20 petal Dresden, and so I did that with the slice ruler. That's a quilting ruler that I designed for ruler foot quilting. You can do it with a long arm or with your home machine, but the slice is unique in that you can also cut out 20 petal Dresden plates with that particular ruler. So I had a lot of fun making those, and they came out absolutely awesome. So now I'm just turning the center circle so that way they will be complete. And center circles are very easy. They just take a little bit of time. I cut out the circle out of doubled up heavy duty freezer paper, and then, you know, waxy side down, press the freezer paper to the fabric. And then I cut it out with a nice generous 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. You know, it's just slow, steady work. Everything in this quilt was slow, steady work. Although, you know, the fact that I was able to get this much done on the borders in one day is pretty shocking. It was kind of like I was allowed to make a mess in here, but only for one day because I knew we'd be getting back to work again Monday. And so I had to get started, get it done, get it cleaned up. And so, yes, here's a picture of what this room looked like on Saturday afternoon. It was a complete wreck. You couldn't see the table for all of the scraps, for all of the fabrics, all that good stuff. And yeah, as soon as I finished piecing all of the landscape and all of the sky and I got everything in place, all the scraps went in the trash because I won't need them again. And that felt great because I've been thinking a lot about, you know, just, you know, how scraps end up having babies. I mean, really, it kind of drives me a little nuts that it feels like, you know, even after cutting up all my fabric into, you know, scrap pieces and using it and then making, pretty much I'm done with the friendship quilt. I need to put mine together, but, you know, scraps have babies in a major way, but I think I'm going to just change how I buy and how I approach a project, and that is, you know, I use the pieces for what they're intended for. In this case, you know, I had Dad to prepare the green scrappy strips and stuff, And then when the purpose was fulfilled, then I was able to let go of everything extra. Everything superfluous had already fulfilled its duty and it had already done what it needed. And so I was able to let that go. And it really honestly wasn't that much, but it was just such a relief to not have like all this random, another bin basically of random stuff that then have to store. And I have to say, this was probably easier to let go of because throughout this process, what kept my mind busy while I was working on this quilt, I finally listened to The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. That is Marie Kondo's book. It is a pretty good audiobook, I gotta say. Good voice narration, and it's short. It's not super, super long. I mean, I listened to the entire thing in one stretch on Saturday. And so I think it's like 6 hours long. It's not very long at all. That book, yeah. So I'm already a purger. You guys know this. If you listen to the podcast, you know that I pretty unashamedly admit to throwing things away because it's how I was raised. My mom taught me to, use something, grow out of it, throw it away, or pass it on. We did a lot of Goodwilling and did a lot of thrift shopping and stuff like that. So, I learned to, on a regular basis, go through my things and purge. We would just call it a purging day. So that's already been part of my life in a big way. Marie Kondo's book takes it to another level. And I'm laughing because, oh man, she's like, Josh is like, all right, Leah, you got some OCD going on here and you went a little far with it, but yeah. So the basic premise of the book is to get rid of everything that you don't find meaningful. I mean, that's my interpretation of her method, at least. And I would really say that book has been in my wish list for years, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. It's been in my wish list for years and years and years, and I just kind of got a little hesitation about getting it because I had heard the method involved like holding something and saying to yourself, does this make me feel joy? And I felt hesitation about that because that just felt a little woo-woo to me. And also, I don't generally feel joy when I am looking at a tool. I mean, it's just a tool. Depending on how cute it is and how well it works, yeah, it might make me feel joy, but generally it's just a tool and I don't really feel that way about it. But I kind of, as I read it, I listened for that. And yeah, there's definitely some kind of weird stuff in there, like don't ball your socks because it hurts their feelings. That's a little woo-woo. But overall, I kind of took the interpretation from the book of valuing and treasuring the things that you own and love, the things that you really value, and then to release everything that you don't feel that particular attachment or value to. And that there's just so much that gets in our way. And I really love this quote from the book, and that was, getting rid of, this is a summary, this is not an exact quote, but basically, getting rid of these things is giving space to being the person you want to be. I really like that. And I would go even further to say, getting rid of things, especially like scrap fabrics, useless tools, gadgets that you might have bought and then they didn't work, fabrics that you don't like anymore, all that kind of stuff, I feel like is getting in the way of you making the things that you want to create. And I certainly have felt that, I kind of got into like a rut where it was just easier to keep cutting out strip quilts and doing stuff with pre-cuts and it was really easy to, just pull out easy stuff and make a video or pull out easy stuff or just, use what I got in Quilty Box every month and use that as a challenge to write patterns and that kind of thing. And it took stepping back from that and saying, is this actually what I want to be creating? Is this my highest contribution? And I know that sounds a little bit weird. I mean, that's certainly coming from the perspective of I do this for a living, so it's not just I want to make a pretty quilt to play with pretty fabrics. This is, am I sharing my highest contribution as far as what I can be teaching? There's a whole world of different things that I can be teaching, but the question is this actually really what I most want to create and share with you guys? And I've been tapping into that a lot. I would say, this milestone of hitting 10 years and, just several different things kind of are clicking this year. I think a lot of it has to do with my word of the year, which is embrace change. I'm changing up things quite a bit as far as how I approach, shooting videos and how I approach planning things out. It's no longer kind of like oh, let me get it done really quick, so I can, have a lot of videos made or something like that. It's more along the lines of, I want to plan this out and do something that, a quilt that I really want to end up with at the end. I really want to finish this, like this particular Express Your Love project has been in progress for a really, really long time, and finishing it just feels amazing. It feels amazing to be able to work on it. So all good all around. And yeah, I would highly recommend Marie Kondo's book. I need to read her second book, I can already say. I think she dives, I don't know, but from what the description, it seems that she dives a little bit more into hobbies. My personal opinion is, unless you're a quilter or a creative person, and certainly unless you're multi-craftual and into multiple crafts, which is its own kind of insanity. I mean, I've got yarn, I've got fabric, I've got wool and beads, and just a crazy assortment of stuff. And I've learned from years of experience that if I just go in there and trash it all, I'll end up buying it again. And I don't necessarily want to do that anymore. I want to find more of a balance with the investment that I make into my craft supplies, but then also the counter with that, and that is the time and the amount of time that I have to actually play with them. And it's so much easier to buy crafty things than to make crafty things, because it's just faster and easier, and you kind of feel that little like, oh yay, I got something pretty, and you have that little kind of boost. At least I get a little boost from shopping, and and it feels good to get some nice new shiny thing, and then getting it home, and then it's like, okay, now I've got to do something with that nice shiny thing. That's the hard part. And it's so much easier to just buy than to actually use it. And then I also discovered, the counter to that is also then I can end up spending all my creative creating time organizing my stuff, and finding another bin and finding another drawer, and that kind of thing, and schlepping stuff all over the house to stick it somewhere, rather than actually using it. And so yeah, I've been thinking about a lot of this. I already knew that I had a problem in my wood shop, my red barn. So it's like listening to that book, I was already planning a clean out anyway, but listening to that book really gave me kind of I don't know, it twisted my brain around a little bit more. I was like, yeah, we're going to go total, baby. We're going to go full bore. So I got into my red barn, and here's some before pictures so you can see where I was starting, and it was a complete wreck. It was totally trashed out. I think, yeah, I had really made a mess with rabbit stuff, when we set up the rabbit ritz, and I hadn't cleaned up from that, and that was 2 months ago. And then we had some other projects, and then of course the renovation in the long arm room. It's just so easy when you've got a wood shop to just kind of grab the tools you need, bring them in the house, use them, and then they all end up back out in the barn in a big, usually I just carry out a big bag of all the tools, and they just get dumped either on a table or on the floor. And it just gets so junky, and then I walk in and it's just such a wreck, and I want to get all the way back to the very, very back and use the lathe and turn something, but then the idea of trying to fight my way through it through all that pile of junk to get back there, and then the floor is completely covered in sawdust, and I have to move stuff around, the whole 9 yards of that. Usually I just turn around and shut the door and walk back out. And I'm really tired of that, because, that's a space where I want to be able to completely disengage from fabric. If I'm just feeling like, all right, I need a different material to play with. I want to get my hands dirty with wood, and I, want to turn something. It's just a totally different creative process than quilting. I want it to go out there and feel relaxed, and listening to Marie's book, it really helped me tap into what do I want from my wood shop, and I want to feel peaceful and relaxed. I want to be able to walk in there and not feel stress. And I want to be able to easily pick up any project that I have in progress and work on it and take it to completion and finish it. I've got lots of different things. I've got a chest set that I've started, and I really want to get into cutting dovetails and making boxes and different fun things. But, if I'm constantly walking into my shop and it's always just a total wreck, how am I ever going to be able to do that? So, got out there on Sunday. I kind of reached a point with this where it's just a lot of machine work now, a lot of blanket stitch to cover these edges. And this one is completely done. This one's completely stitched down. Now I'm working on the bottom part. I think I already put it on the sewing machine. It needs to be stitched. And then the side panels are stitched. They just need the Dresden plate attached. So I kind of got it to this stage and was like, all right, there's still some slow, steady work left. And I was ready to do something different on Sunday. So I got out to that barn. I think I started at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was finishing up Josh Made Spaghetti. And I was finishing up at 6:30. I stayed out there all day. And it was, and I have to say, I don't really work Marie's way. She's kind of like pull everything out and put it in a big pile and then sort through it. And I don't work that way because as I'm sorting and going through things, I am looking for a solution to the issue that is storing things where they are. And so I already knew I wanted to add more drawer storage to my barn. I already knew the shelving wasn't working quite right. So when I pulled everything down, I was already thinking in terms of adding storage. And this is why it took so long. I mean, it took probably 3 times longer than it would have if I had just pulled everything out and gone through it all at once. So I don't know. I need to play around with that and maybe try her method with my clothes. I'll try it the official way with my clothes and see if that works better. It was overwhelming and it was so hot. The barn, heats up. We lost some trees 2 years ago, and so now the barn gets actually hotter. It was hotter inside than it was outside, and that was even with a big fan going. So it was just really, really hot, exhausting work. But James and I took an entire truckload of trash to the dump today. I mean, it was everything from like glue bottles that had completely dried up that I was keeping for some reason. I don't know why. Empty paint cans. Why am I keeping this? The paint had dried up a long time ago. It was just kind of crazy stuff that I had been keeping. A lot of things that not only didn't make me feel joy, but were completely pointless to be keeping in my barn. So that was kind of a crazy tangent. Definitely bit off a little bit more than I could chew. I'm very, very sore today. Very sore. And I got a little bit of help from James. James came out with me and he was definitely my fetching carrier a little bit. But, this was my own kind of crazy girl, like I'm going to go tear up my wood shop and put it all back together again. And then, of course, now I can say it was absolutely worth it. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but I am so pleased with it now. Everything has a place. If not a drawer, I've labeled everything so it has good places to go. Everything in the barn left over, except for I didn't go through the loft. I need to go through the loft, but pretty much everything remaining in the barn, there's a plan for it. I know what it's for. It might necessarily make me feel joy. I don't know if a radial arm saw can make me feel joy, but it all has a purpose. It all has a need and a place. And I think that's the most important thing. And, it also really helped me tap into just, why I love this so much. I love working in my wood shop because that was, some of the earliest memories of my childhood is hanging out in my wood shop with my dad and my grandpa. And my grandpa turned bowls. And my dad, built things. He built signs and he built cabinets and all kinds of different things. And so I can just remember setting and listening to those saws running. I mean, it's partly why I have kind of bad hearing. But I would just sit and play and I would, hammer nails and stuff as a little girl for hours. Just happy to hang out with them and have a good time. And that was, such a cherished memory. And then now to be able to do this as an adult, to have my own wood shop and to be able to go out there and spend time, I want to get back to that relaxing, peaceful space that I had when I was a kid, because it wasn't my mess. Of course, it wasn't my mess in the wood shop back then. Now it is, and it's cleaned up, which feels amazing. So I am tickled pink. It was a lot of work, but it was absolutely worth it to get all of that done. And I'm so happy because now I am getting this knocked out. I've got my Dresden plate. I decided to go with the smaller circle for the center of the sun. You can see I had a nice big 5.5 inch, I think it's a 5.5 inch circle here in the center. And I decided for these side suns, I was going to make them a little bit smaller. I think that's really cute. And yeah, just place that on there and measure up. I want them to be at least consistent so that they're the same distance from where the land starts. Everything that I'm working on with this is running big. You know, she's running a little bit big. I've got frayed edges and stuff, and I know everything's going to get surrounded with strips of black fabric when I actually go to put it all together. So everything's running big, and then it'll all be cut down to a nice tidy size and put together with black strips, and then it'll all fit together perfectly. And these are the blocks that I was talking about last week that are kind of faux Hawaiian blocks. I still need to blanket stitch these or do something with them. I don't want them to fray, but they're super, super cute. I think I cut out 2, and for every block I could keep the center and then turn that into another block. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of work to blanket stitch that. There's just lots of nooks and crannies. It's lots of intense detail through those little Hawaiian blocks. But I think that really works. It's the same fabric. Ended up right there. And I think that color really ended up working out nicely. So I'm delighted with that. And yeah, definitely thinking about applying the Marie Kondo method. It's called KonMari, I think, is her method of organization and tidying up. I'm going to think about applying that to, you know, my long arm room, which is still slightly unfinished. We got the walls painted last week, which is really, really nice. The walls are looking great. I still need to rehang some shelves and kind of, as I was putting everything back, I kind of went and looked at everything. I was like, you know, I can put all my storage units, like kind of, it's like IKEA storage, like drawers and stuff that I bought at IKEA, and I can put it all back and it works okay, not great. But I really want it to look better in there now. You know, I really want it to look, it's just funny how those kind of things happen. Now, speaking of machine embroidery, I made a really fun project that I'm super pleased with. My son, I told you guys last week, went to the Junior Olympics, and not all the kids won ribbons from our dojo. 9 kids went, and I think 6 of them won medals. I'm not really sure. James didn't, and he was a little disappointed about that. And so I said, well, I will design you guys a patch, so everybody gets a patch that you can put on your bag and say that you were one of the Junior Olympians in 2019. So this took a lot of trial and error. I still, it's a little bit of a confidence thing. I will be completely honest. I sometimes, with machine embroidery, I think specifically because I haven't been doing it as long as, you know, other like applique, like what I'm doing right this second, I feel a lot more nitpicky about it. And less confident that it's good enough. I hope that makes sense. So whenever I stitch something out, you know, the first time I stitched it out, Josh and James were like, oh, that's good, you know, but then I tweaked it a little bit and stitched it out again. It's like, oh, that's better. You know, it's like, how much better can I make it? You know, what other tweaks can I do in order to get it to where it's looking really good? And it's, you know, it was a matter of changing the font, playing around with the font. It was a matter of spacing out the letters so that way I would get a thread break with each letter rather than having them chained together, which doesn't look good. Playing with the background, when I first stitched it out, I didn't have a stitched background, and so it didn't really look like a patch. So yeah, it was just a steady progression. I think I did 6 different prototypes before I got it, and then I was able to stitch out 4 in a go with my big hoops, and that was great. It took hours and hours and hours because, I mean, this is a Janome Horizon 15,000 is what I have. So it's still just a regular size bobbin. So it was just running through bobbins like crazy. But I'm so happy with these. So I just need to cut these out, cut them apart, and have them ready for the kids for karate today. And I was delighted to be able to do that. They didn't have anything like that for sale. You know, they didn't even have like, you know, Junior Olympic patches. They had t-shirts and that kind of thing, and bags and that kind of thing. And I just decided to do something, you know, custom just for our dojo. I thought that would be a lot of fun. And I also really need to actually embroider James's name on his equipment bag. And that's been on my list too. So I really love this push. That was, it took a good few hours of, you know, stitching and prototyping and playing and tweaking and then going back to it again and stitching it again and seeing if that fixed it and that kind of thing. It's not straightforward. And the thing about it I kind of love and I kind of hate is that it's not been done to death. So I can't always find the answer to a question about machine embroidery. Like, you know, how do I make a patch? Like, what's the right way to do it? There isn't a right way to do it. I just had to make it up and figure it out and until I personally was satisfied with it and felt like it was done. And that's kind of cool. You know, it's definitely one of those situations where there's not a hard and fast, like this is the right way or this is the wrong way. And it's tricky to, how can I say it? It's tricky to go into something because it's then all 100% opinion based. You know, I have to look at it and go, okay, now it's done. Now I like it. It's good enough. And that, you know, that's a little harder, especially like I said, I just have a little bit of a confidence issue with machine embroidery where it's just feeling like I know what I'm doing, which I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm learning with every project that I make. Now, one other big milestone that has happened in the past month is reaching 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. And this is a pretty big deal. You know, there's not that many people that can reach 100,000 subscribers, and particularly in quilting, it's kind of a niche topic. That just feels really, really amazing. So if you are a subscriber on my YouTube channel, thank you, thank you, thank you. It really fills my bucket up to the brim. And, you know, it's kind of cool that we've reached this milestone here in 2019. When I first got started sharing videos in 2009, you know, thinking about YouTube as a place to share stuff was not really my focus. My focus was on building my blog and focusing on that side of things. I wasn't really focused on being necessarily a YouTuber. I was more focused on being a blogger. So I did not bother with ads. I didn't bother to make, you know, the videos even easily findable. You know, I didn't do any kind of search engine, anything. And they didn't look all that good and they weren't easy to find. And so it wasn't until 2015 that I really started getting my act together with my videos. So, I think I only maybe had 50,000 subscribers at that point. So to have turned it around as fast as I did and you know, kind of fixed what I hadn't done right from the beginning, you know, and really I look back on that time, it's like I had a 2-year-old. You know, James was so little, there was a limit to how much I could take on at any given time. And, you know, I just had to pick on, you know, something and focus on it. And you know, did I focus on the wrong thing? I don't know. I mean, you can't really say one way or the other. It's just, you know, blogging is not now, it's just evolved beyond that. And that's the thing. You know, after 10 years in business, I can absolutely say you never know what's going to work, what's going to stick. You know, what's going to be the successful thing. You just kind of have to just go at it and cross your fingers and hope for the best. I mean, really. And I've tried so many different things over the years, guys, but it's always, I think, the things that really flow and work naturally for me that work out the best. And right now I'm kind of playing with the idea of doing a little bit with Instagram TV, that's IGTV. I uploaded a video and of course I then forgot to put a thumbnail for it, and you know, it didn't look as good. So I mean, it's like it's hard to learn new things. It really is. But I'm kind of playing around with that, and I'm also wanting to do more time lapse style videos where I just turn on the camera and, you know, like capture putting something like this together. This would have been all day if I had turned on the camera and let it go. It would have been an all day shoot, that would have been pretty cool. But it was just, on Saturday, it was just too much. I couldn't consider also having a camera going at the same time. I'm measuring this to make sure that I'm setting it up the right distance. I think that's actually 8 inches. Yeah, I want to keep it consistent. But yeah, that feels like a really big milestone. And, you know, it's also one of those things, I think Bonnie Hunter shared a post a couple weeks ago, and I just absolutely love following Bonnie Hunter, on Instagram. I don't really get on Facebook anymore, guys, but on Instagram, Bonnie shares really cute little pictures and quotes and stuff like that, inspirational stuff. And one of them was about, just kind of 3 things for a happier life. And, don't compare yourself was one of them. And fully appreciate everything that you have. And I can't remember what the third one was. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I just really think that is so, so true, because I know that I've been doing this since 2009, and there's a lot of people that started in 2009, and they have a whole lot more subscribers than me, and they have a whole lot bigger YouTube channel than me. And the thing I have to come back to is like, well, at the same time, I was doing this pretty much on my own. Josh got started with us, and then, obviously Dad helps us out now. But even still, we're a team of 3. And there's a lot of bigger businesses out there, and they do great, and that's awesome for them. And I kind of had to reach a point where it's like, I love what I do and how I do it. I don't really want to do it a different way. And even if that doesn't necessarily mean getting like tons better results or so many more subscribers, I think it's really easy to get stuck on those numbers and feel like that means something, and it doesn't. Even at 100,000 subscribers, is like the day that clicked over, I was like, oh, yay. It's like, I still got to go shoot some more videos. Still got to go do my job. I can have a little, happy dance, and then, I'm off to go do the normal things that I'm going to do. It's like, there's no finish line with this business. There's no finish line with this life. There's always something more. There's always something new. There's always another quilt to finish. And, it's great to celebrate those victories, but at the same time, it's like, I learned a while ago that, that sense of comparison is very, very bad. And it really will rob all joy out of any accomplishment if I'm looking at what everybody else is doing and kind of comparing and contrasting, my perceived success or whatever to that. And so I've just learned, just mind my own business. Quite literally, mind my own business. And that has been such a relief. It has been truly, truly amazing. I think that has been making the most enormous difference in my satisfaction and happiness level over the last 2 or 3 years. Really, really, really minding my own business. And another thing that I wrote when I was writing Rise to the Challenge of Your Life, my memoir, I didn't end up publishing it, but one thing that I wrote, and that I still think about this, is other people's thoughts are not my business. And, and I kind of went further with that, because obviously we've heard that one before, other people's thoughts are not my business. But no, really, I can't bottle other people's thoughts. I can't put them in a jar. I can't wind them on a spool, and I can't sell them. So they really aren't my business, so I really, really like that too. So speaking of business and fun things, we have 2 giveaways, actually. I decided to do 2 giveaways this week for the podcast. And what this is basically, I have lots of pre-cuts that I've collected over the years. And as I said, I'm kind of moving these on so that way I can make room for the things I really want to create. And I'm passing them on to you guys. And to be eligible for the giveaway, all you have to do is become a member of our Quilt Friends Club, and you can check it out at quiltfriends.club. And a special thank you to our new members, Laureen Kinney, Sarah Beth Carr, Barbara Gregory, Tersa Grobler, Frankie Yetner, Connie Stover, and Tanya Inarelli. So thank you guys so much for joining in the fun. And we have this one I actually had set up as the giveaway before I went on vacation through July, and then I kind of forgot about it, and I misplaced it, and I couldn't find it last week. And then this one was last week, so we're going to do both of these. So I pulled out a random number generator, and the winner of the strips is Patricia Terry. Congratulations, Patricia. And the winner of the orange strips here, the whiter strips, is Lucille Evans. So congratulations to you both. Josh will be shipping those out to you guys. And I forgot to get one for next week. Let me go run and grab a pack that we will be giving away this week. So I ran out and grabbed the strip pack. This is our giveaway for this week. It is a Hoffman Fabrics Valley Pop 2.5-inch strip pack. So if you'd like to be entered to win this cool pack of fabric, come and check out the club at quiltfriends.club. Now, I received several supportive comments this past week, but two really stepped out to me. Vivian Nocera, she said, love watching you draw your picture. Think about offering beginner drawing classes for those of us who aren't able to draw well. This is super sweet. This was on my Artzia. I think I ended up pronouncing that name wrong the entire time through that video. I don't know. It's Artiza, maybe? That video where I drew the tree, and I posted that on Saturday, and so you can see how that goes through a time-lapse video. I'll be honest, I don't feel like I'm the world's best drawer, and I still need to work on my confidence with that, certainly. I don't really know that I can teach it quite yet, but I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards that angle and getting more into that and more comfortable with that idea. So thank you so much, Vivian. That was super sweet. And then I also shared a video on Friday on attaching a treadle belt, and Brian Watt said, very beautiful Stradivario machine. I did notice you upgraded the treadle base. The Model 12 treadle wheel is so tiny. You have really got to treadle fast to get them going. Cool to see you put in the newer base, so that I bet it's so much easier in your legs with that bigger wheel. Happy sewing. And yes, indeed, I am so happy to have a nice big wheel on my treadle. And this was just one of those things that you don't know when you get into it. You know, something totally new, and treadle sewing machines was something totally new that I got into last year. And when I, found my very first treadle, it was just so exciting and, so awesome. It was not shiny and new. It was dingy and disgusting because it was tucked in the very, very back of a antique store. But I just fell in love with it, and just had to have that one. And it was super cheap and super filthy, and it took months to get it working. And then in the end, I pretty much almost had to take it completely apart. A new treadle base, a new machine in it. In fact, actually, the machine is outdated. I now have a Singer 237 that I need to get the treadle belt. I need to cut the opening ever so slightly bigger. I just need to notch it out in a couple places here and there, just so that the machine will set down completely flat and flush. And then, yeah, I will be able to do a zigzag stitch and move the needle. That is the major benefit of having a Singer 237, is that it can be treadled, but it also can do things like a zigzag stitch and move the needle. And I realized working with the Stradivario, although it was a very nice straight stitch machine, it just did not have as many functions as I was going to need. I really missed having a zigzag stitch, of all things. It's one of those funny things. On a sewing machine, I don't need all those bells and whistles and decorative stitches, but I really do like having a zigzag stitch when I need it. So that is pretty much it for today. As you can see, it's just a really chill, relaxed anniversary. I do have one other project I wanted to share with you guys. Let me finish gluing this on, and then I'll share with you about it. Well, it starts with actually some sad news, and that is my mother-in-law had a heart attack, and this was back, though. It was back in January, and we didn't know, and she didn't know, and she just got really, really sick and has just been feeling really poorly ever since. And we thought it was the flu, or, maybe, she just dust in her house or something like that, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. And then she finally went to a cardiologist, and it was a heart attack. And so she's really just not been feeling well, but she's doing much, much better now. And of course, back in January, my grandmother-in-law, her mother died. That's Betty, Josh's grandmother, died. And we went for that funeral and memorial, and just had an amazing time spending that time with family. And during that visit, several of Josh's aunts were like, well, we should go through Betty's clothing, and, would you like to take something, and that kind of thing. And, so I ended up taking 4 shirts, and I absolutely loved wearing them. They were wonderful to wear, but the more I thought about it, the more I just really felt like, this was something I remembered, Betty wearing. She always wore these really pretty floral button-down shirts, but it just felt like something that I didn't necessarily want to wear it. I wanted to make it into a memory quilt instead. And so I'm going to get started on this today. And basically what I'm going to do, I've already washed these, so they're all really, really perfectly clean. I'm going to start taking them apart so that way I can harvest the fabric out of them. And then starch and press and get the fabric so it's usable and not as stiff as I can get it. And then it'll all go into a plastic bin so that way it keeps its stiffness. Whenever you starch fabric and leave it exposed to the air, it will soften pretty quickly over time. Even if you keep it in a jar, like this was kept in a jar, it's very, very soft. I had to starch it again in order to get some stiffness back. But if you keep it in like a plastic bag or a plastic bin, kind of airtight, then it will keep its stiffness. So that's the plan first. And what I've decided to do with it, because these are not 100% cotton, I think maybe one of them is 100% cotton, they're going to be really challenging to try and piece traditionally with. So I've decided not to piece them traditionally. I'm going to use paper pieces, and I'm finally going to do the double wedding ring I've been talking about doing for years. So I have wanted to do a double wedding ring since I wanted to start quilting, since Josh and I were getting married, and it's been on my list ever since. And so I think I'm going to make a very small. The really thing I like about the paper pieces is you can make as many rings as you want, and they go together. And then how this is English paper piecing, basically the pieces will wrap around the paper, and then they'll be stitched together. I whip stitch them together, and then I can just applique the ring, the wedding ring, onto a piece of white backing fabric or any color of backing fabric that I want. So I can make as many rings as I want, as much fabric as I have, and I'm thinking I'm just going to make a really small lap quilt for my mother-in-law, and I think that will be just a really loving, meaningful project. For me, it's extremely meaningful because I get a set with these wonderful memories of Miss Betty, Josh's grandmother, and she was just so, so kind to me whenever I met her for the first time. It's always intimidating to, meet family of your future husband, the whole 9 yards of that. And this is so long ago, and I just remember that I was only like 20. So it just brings back so many nice memories. And then too, I've always wanted to make a double wedding ring, and then to make this for my mother-in-law, and hopefully it will help her feel better. And to continue recovering, because I think this is going to be, it's going to be a while before she's back 100% again. So all around, this is the kind of thing that I really want to do more of, and that is a project that has a purpose. It has deep, deep meaning. It is something I've been wanting to do for years, and it's not like I'm going to have it done tomorrow. I mean, it's English paper piecing. As I discovered with this goddess, it can be really slow. But a few pieces done here and there every day, that's progress, and that's the kind of progress that will see this project through to the end. And I'm thinking maybe 4 rings to make a little lap quilt. So keep it small, but certainly very, very beautiful. And I can't wait to start prepping these up and getting them ready to go. So that is pretty much it. I am super excited about all that we have going on. I'm going to turn off the camera and go start shooting photos of goddess quilts for my goddess quilt book. And I forgot to tell you about it last week, guys, but I have set up a newsletter list just in case you're wanting to get notified when we have the pre-order for the goddess quilt book. That is at leahday.com/goddess. And that new book, I'm hoping, crossing all my fingers and toes, that the book will be ready for pre-order on November 1st. I don't know yet. It really depends on how long it takes me to shoot the photos. And Josh is right now, kicked him out of the house today, so he could go and edit the book for me. Then I'll get it back and do more editing. So it's kind of a tag team effort there. But between that and photos, I'm hoping to have the book ready for pre-order in November. So if you'd like to sign up for a copy, or at least to be notified of the pre-order, then just go to leahday.com/goddess. And that's it for the news, I promise. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for 10 awesome years of the Free Motion Quilting Project, 10 awesome years in business. I cannot wait to see what the next 10 years bring. I'm having so much fun. I cannot imagine doing anything else, and I'm so very grateful for this amazing life that I live. So thank you guys, and until next time, let's go quilt.